Folks, we'll have a wireless mic to ask questions. Please be sure and raise, and we'll start with questions.
Cal, now that you've had several practices or a few practices, what have been the revelations or maybe surprises to you about your team so far?
No revelations, but Marcus Lee's better than I thought. Derek Willis is better than I thought. I just got done watching our practice tape from yesterday. Jared Polson and Dominic played well. Guys are learning new ways of playing and are making strides. Everybody that walks in the building, the guy that they're saying is the standout is James Young. Like, every day, we've had NBA scouts in there every day. And they're all speaking about him, and I'm kind of watching everybody who's not seen it. John Hood has gotten better, Jared Polson's gotten better. I mean, Willie yesterday for the first time practiced and changed the practice. Now you got a couple 7-footers on each team, a couple 6'9s on each team, a couple 6'8s on each team. So.
John Nail is the next one.
Yeah, just with a couple of your comments the last couple of weeks, it seems like you've gotten the swagger back. Just how excited are you for this team, maybe compared to where you were a year ago?
Well, everybody keeps saying, well, I sound different. Well, there's a process that we teach with, and you guys who have watched me know I don't need a team in October playing like it's January. We have not done any defense, none. Yesterday was the first rebounding that we had done. We've done no pick and roll, so I'm not letting them play pick and roll basketball. I'm making them cut in space and create, and instead of 2 guys playing and 3 standing. That being said, if we do have an out-of-bounds play on the baseline, we do have one on the sideline. We have nothing, no zone, but what I like is the instincts of the players. So their instincts are normally right. They're not thinking, they're instinctive, and that makes it kind of fun, especially, as fast and as aggressive as we play.
Now, what is it maybe that's impressing people?
What is that?
What is it that's impressing people who come here about James Young, and what have you taken from him?
He is really fast. He's now not settling for jump shots. So you're seeing a young man get his head and shoulders by people, take contact, and make baskets, which a month ago he was not going in there. In transition, he's kind of like Michael Kidd. If he's out ahead, you throw him the ball. Something good will happen. And he has a chance of being a terrific defender. Part of what happened to us last year with Nerlens, some other guys that we thought would be good defenders really weren't. I think this team could and should be, not just because you have a shot blocker. We have a couple of big kids. We can guard the ball better.
John, you've been quite open about 40-0 as a goal or a target, and most coaches say, the day-to-day process is what brings results. How do you?
Well, what I've said, let me again, I feel like Jay Carney up here. Let me again tell you what I've said. For about 8 years, I've said before I retire, I would love to coach a team that goes 40-0. As a Democrat, you can say what I said. As a Republican, you can say what I said, but I'll say it again. I've said it for 8 to 10 years. Before I retire, I would like to coach a team that goes 40-0. Will that happen? I don't know. Every game we play to win. We're not playing any game not to win. The reason I like the mentality of every game matters is you don't want to get upset by people that you shouldn't be beat by. That game matters as much as a North Carolina or Michigan State or whoever else. Those games matter too. We don't talk about it as a team. I mean, it's not like, we're going 40-0. We don't. This is the way we do this is a process. Now, being that's something I would like, who knows whether the team would like that. Now, that being in mind, I've had 3 teams that almost did it. We started talking, 3 teams almost did it. And by not doing it, we won the most games in the history of the NCAA. No team has won more games, 2 of my teams. So, you know, you may not go 40-0, but you're doing special things.
Walter?
Now, should this team be the #1 team in the country right now? You've seen them more than anyone else.
I haven't seen anybody else, I really don't know.
From what you've seen, and they have the potential.
Really, I don't know anybody else, so I can't really tell you. I mean, you know,
You've coached #1 teams before, though. They have.
but they were veteran teams. You know, so you're talking about an inexperienced team. We'll be the most inexperienced team in the country. But we're really talented. We've got great size and speed and skill. Will we be a great defensive team and rebounding team? And will we share the ball? If we do that, we have a chance to be one of the best teams in the country. Are we right now? I have no idea because I don't know where anybody else is.
Right here, Pat Woody.
Independent of experience, is this the most talented team you've had?
Well, that first team I had here was really talented. Like, that first team was like, woo. 2012, and you know, it's funny, we talk about the 2011, how did we ever get to the Final Four? You know, I'd like to say it's my coaching and my system and my style of play and all that, but Brandon Knight's in the league, Terrence Jones is in the league, Ron Lamb is in the league, Josh Harrelson's in the league, Darius Miller's in the league, DeAndre Liggins is a league player. You know, I mean, we had good players that year. They just weren't as good as the year before. I'd like this to play out a little bit and look back. I mean, I will tell you, this team is deeper than that team. We have a couple more that we didn't have, but, you know, you just had 2 guys sign max deals in the NBA. So, you know.
Kyle, and then Jerry.
If you can remember back to this, compare how you felt about that 2012 team at this stage, when you looked at them, when you watched them practice, and however many number, how does that compare when you look at these guys and see what they can do early?
It's a totally different backdrop now. We just lost in the first round of the NIT, so I'm seeing this group. That group's coming off the Final Four, and if we didn't win a national title, it was a total failure to try to build that up so that we would fail. So, I like, you won't believe this, I like my team. And anybody that's watched us know we have good kids that are listening, that are sharing. We had the women's clinic, 660 women come out. And as we did go up and down, I saw some Showtime stuff. Now, is that what's going to happen when there are people in the seats? I don't know. Hope not, but I saw a little bit of stop. Why'd you do that? Where did that come from? Well, there's people here. I'm going to show them some stuff. So there's a lot. We're just, you know, I don't think it's going to happen, but we could start 5 freshmen. I don't think it's going to happen, but it may, because I don't make that choice, but it could happen.
Jerry.
Gary Tipton, Fox News. What,
Who from Fox?
Jerry Tipton, Fox News. What,
The Republicans have shut down the government. The Democrats are trying to feed everybody. What is going on?
how would you describe the leadership qualities of Julius in terms of playing hard or just being a good player? What components add up to a good leader?
What's happening right now, we're playing him in a position as though he's a 2 or a 3. And so he's just now getting comfortable starting from 20 feet out. You still have to offensive rebound, which he is not. He's not defensive rebounding the way he needs to. He is driving the ball better and recognizing better. Trying to figure out, when do I shoot jumpers, when do I drive? Yet, that being said, he's still playing hard. And you know, yesterday, the thing, we had an unbelievable practice until 15 minutes to go, and then they all backed up. And it starts with one or two guys. We didn't finish the practice. But he is, you know, he's 6'9", 250, and he's, you know, he's skilled. But I don't want to play him under the basket. That's not preparing him for what's ahead for him. I could play him at 7 feet and try to win college games, tell him I'm really helping you. Or I can make him play out on the floor like we did Patrick Patterson. You remember Patrick went from standing under the basket to playing at the top of the key offensively. And so it's going to take him time. I mean, that's probably why people walked in and looked at James Young. It's more natural for him. He's playing like he naturally would. And the other guys are still learning and trying to get their feet underneath them about how they're going to play this new way of playing.
So how much has it changed your approach to the idea that the rules and the way the game is called are going to change?
Well, I've been saying it again for 10 years. I've said the same thing, and then everybody says, well, he's only saying that because he's trying to get at. Scoring's gone down because we foul more. So now they're going to say you're not fouling. If you put a body hip check on a guy dribbling full court, it is now a foul. If you hold a guy from getting open, it's now a foul. It's automatic. You remember the charge block where I used to go crazy? You had to have your toe off the ground. Now, if you're in an up motion, I don't have to even jump yet. I'm in an up motion. If that man is not standing there, it is a block every single time. There's no more flopping. So he comes in and I drive and I beat my man and I raise the ball. You better be standing there, which means as a driver, your head had to be down to run him over. Because if your head's up and he's standing and he's there, unless you don't know how to play, you're not going to run the guy over. So I think scoring will go up. It's going to open the game up. Here's what a press will be now. If you want to press and hold and bump, you're going to foul out your whole team. But you can trap quick and try to steal the ball. But if you don't steal the ball, you got to run back, because if you bump that driver, it is now a foul. According to what they've told us. The one I'm not sure of is post defense. That's a little bit harder to decipher how they're going to play. If you don't give the guy motion, if you put a hip, if you form in the back or two, they're going to make calls. That one is a little less clear to me. But the others are clear. You drive the ball and you get your head and shoulders by the guy and there's contact. Where before they could sometimes say, well, the offense created it. Nope, the rule states you get your head and shoulders by the guy and there's contact, that's a foul on the defense. It's the new rules. Not my rules, it's the rules. If you drive and raise a ball and weak side defender comes as you're raising the ball and his feet aren't set, and then you continue to jump, that is a block every single time. So I think it eliminates flops. I mean, you can't get there. Unless you're standing there and the guy has his head down and just bowls you over and the cheerleaders and two officials. So I think it's good for the game, but we'll see. They got it. What we all say is they'll call it in November, December. They're going to call it in January, February, March. They are convinced they are, and I think it's good for the game.
In the last few years, you've had three guys in Rose, Norman Davis, who won a National Player of the Year award. Is Randall in that group?
Yeah, I mean, he's good, but, you know, we got guys on our team playing better right now. But he is that good. And my thing will be, I'll give you an example. I come in last night, I'm in my office about 11 o'clock. 10:30. He's in there shooting. This morning, I hear blup, 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 and I look out my window in the morning, he's got a full sweat going. And he's going to practice today. So when you ask me, does he have a chance of that? Yes, he does. Because of that. The only kid that worked like that I've had has been a Brandon Knight, who willed himself in the league. willed himself to be a top 5, 6, 7 pick. Because physically, you look at him, there's no way, but he willed himself. This kid's got that body, and but listen, we're changing how he plays, so he's not as confident. He doesn't have the swagger that he had right now because we're changing. You can't do it from 7 feet. Now get out there and do it from the perimeter.
Coach, you said earlier that you want to win every game you play, but then you said if you just wanted to win college games, you play 4 days down low. Can you talk about the seeming inconsistency with those statements?
If I'm about my players and I do right by their growth, we'll win our college games. To make it simple for you. So I'm just going to worry about winning college games. Whatever happens after it's not me. That's okay. Or I can say I'm really going to work on these individual players, even if I know we win more games with them here. I'm going to teach them here, and if I really teach them and they get going, we'll win college games. It's just a different approach. Okay, we got a system. Here's how. We don't have a system yet. We're going to run more dribble drive this year than since 2008 with this team and these rules, which means we're going to face a lot of zones and a lot of sagging defenses. So we got to be prepared. Who?
Jared Tipton. Since you've now been here about 25 years, Calipari feels like that. How have you changed as a coach since you left Memphis?
Well, the only thing I'll tell you, we have a video that we take into homes in recruiting, and it has me at the first press conference. Did you chase me at the, no, you chased the other.
Don't rewrite history, get it right.
Okay. And when people see that picture and they see me standing there, they're like, you've aged more than Obama. And this job, you age. I mean, it's just part of what you do, and you're on a treadmill, and I love it. I love the fact that our fans are so active and a part of it. I mean, we have a media day, and look at this. It's ridiculous. This is what it is here, and it's a different deal. It just is. But you know, it's what you strive for when you're coaching. You want to be a part of that kind of program. And then the hard thing is sustaining that. I always say, you know, you take mediocre players and try to win, that's one thing. Well, go take the best players and get those guys to come together as a team and then win with that team. It's a different thing. I was just talking to a guy driving in here who helped build a company in Louisville, left the company, went out west, and is trying to rebrand another company. You know what he said? 2 totally different jobs. Totally different. We built a company out of nothing. Now I'm coming to an established company and we're trying to rebrand and take it another. It's 2 different. This is different than most of those kind of things. It's a different deal.
Jerry, Fox News, and Dick Davis.
I'm wondering if you could give us a comment on Todd Lanner, Sam Malone, and Brian Hall, what they bring, or any sort of comment on their contribution.
Well, the walk-ons, you know, it's tough because I'm coaching those 12 guys, and there's walk-ons. It's hard here because it's hard to get on the court. Now, you look at you know, Jared Paulson, guess what? He was a walk-on. Now, all of a sudden, if you watch tape yesterday, people walked off and said, man, he's good. Now, think about who he's had to play against every day for 4 years. Think about the guards that he's had to guard and be out there with. And so you want those guys to grow. They're good kids. You know, they're as big a part of the team as anybody. They just don't get on the floor that much.
Right here with Dick Davis.
One of the players before the development game workouts said that in the pickup game, defense has been really something to see. I see you doing it. Is that an attitude you want to hear that somebody that doesn't yet know?
Yeah, but it's I don't know if they always played zone and now they're playing in man and they think they're really playing. We have not talked about defense at all. And so, you know, and there's all kind of ways of doing this job. You can help them offensively and build their confidence, and then go to your defense when you got confident players. Or you start right with the defense, and we're gonna make that our staple, and then it kind of squelches that offense, because the defense gets ahead of the offense, and the offense can't even make plays. We just do it the other way. And it doesn't mean it's the right way, but there's, you know, you want to establish that, and we've always become a pretty good defensive team, but we've done nothing. We haven't done pick and roll defense, post defense, playing a screen. All we do in the dribble drive, you got to guard the dribble. And they start figuring out how to guard the drive. And that's the hardest thing to teach in the game.
I hear Gary Gray, and back to Jerry.
Now, what is your thought process when you have this many talented players on your roster in terms of dealing with egos, bruised feelings, things like that? I mean, playing time, touches. I mean, you're in control, but how do you get
Not really, they're in control. The thing that makes this tougher, in a normal situation, if you remember what Coach Smith used to do at North Carolina, they'd have their top 7 or 8, and then they'd bring in the bomb squad 5. Remember they used to do that? And they'd just say, you're going to play 4 straight minutes a half, and you're going to play 4 straight. But he had a veteran team of 8 that didn't need that extra time. The problem we have right now is we have a brand new team every year, so it's hard to say, okay, we're going to play these 7 or 8, and these 5 are going to play 4 minutes. You know, but the whole thing is they earn it. No one's promised anything here. You know, you're going to have to earn minutes. I tell them the thing about sharing the ball. We played Louisville in the semifinal game in the NCAA tournament. No one took more than 9 shots. No one took more than 9 shots. We had the number 1 and 2 pick in the draft, and 6 guys got drafted. So obviously, shots don't matter. Had a guy come in, I'm just maybe not getting the ball enough. Really? So you think that's how they're going to judge you? You get the ball and score. You really think that's how they're going to? No. So why are you worried about that? Go rebound, defend, run the floor, finish baskets, make free throws, do the things that, you know, help us win and make you look good. So you just have to explain it. The other thing is, as long as the kids know you're about them, you're not saying I'm about you, but really you're about the program and yourself. As long as you're about them, they'll listen. They'll trust you. They'll play hard. You're not getting as many minutes because of this, but, you know, we got your back. You're fine. You're going to be good. That's a challenge when you have a good full team.
I hear Jerry.
John, after 2010, you said you had to figure out that last little skip over the hump for a young team. Then obviously they did it in 2012. What is that element? What can you call upon for these guys?
This will be a team that when they get teams down, will they bury them or do they go to showtime? Do they let up off the gas? If you ask me right now, that will be our Achilles heel early. We'll let up off the gas. We'll have it going good and then we'll back up because that's what they've done their whole lives and they're 18 years old. So some of it is you got to get dinged. Sometimes you got to take losses to prove a point. I mean, our game with Indiana helped propel us in another direction in 2012. So I think that's what will be the case, but I don't know. I mean, let them get on the court. We've got tough games early. We've got one of the best schedules in the country. We got one of the most inexperienced teams in the country, so it'll be interesting. What do we have, 1 mic? Can we afford another mic, Dwayne? We got lax running sprints to get this out. What's the problem here?
In most of the preseason rankings, Kentucky, Michigan State, Louisville, in some order of the top 3, you play both of them. Are you excited about that? And does the team know? And they realize that? Or are they excited about it?
They might. And you know, again, this thing is a process of us learning each time out and, you know, self-evaluating, you know, where they know, okay, how do you learn? Well, you learn against teams like that. And you want to win every game. We play to win every game, but the biggest point is you got to learn from every game. And so Those are great learning experiences. Now, you hope you win and learn. You hope you learn from someone else's mistakes by watching. You say, well, you don't want to do that. The reality of it is it doesn't always work out that way.
Coach, in 2012, a lot of people look at that team putting a number of guys together to win the national title as kind of the exception. What do you say about that? Is that the exception, or is that becoming the norm around Kentucky?
I don't know if it's the exception. We had good players, but more importantly, we were the best team. We were the most efficient team on offense. We were the best defensive team in the country. They were a great team, and we had really good players, but we were a great team. Will this team become that? I don't know. We're 10 practices. Today will be our 11th practice. Could we become that? If they choose to. But it's, you know, I just don't know. I mean, you know, is it the norm? And, you know, I wish the rules would change and kids stayed for 2 years, or we did more to encourage kids to stay for 2 years minimum. But that's not the rule right now. And so you have to deal with it. And this, I would not wish this on anybody every year trying to coach a new team.
With you all winning it 2 years ago, Louisville last year, does that kind of push the reset button on the rivalry, and with the pressure that that has?
I think both teams could have losing records, and in this state, it matters. I'm not sure nationally it matters as much, but I know in this state it does. I remember saying, you know, what if we won every game and lost to Louisville my first year? People around the state said, we'd be disappointed, bad year. I mean, that's just how they are. So, you know, that game is going to be that game, and probably both programs look to have it done. Play the game, who wins, who loses, move on now. Because it takes on a life of its own.
John, you had issues at point guard last year, and this year it looks like you'll probably have a freshman at point, and yet the perception is you'll be better. How do you feel about that?
Well, I'll also tell you, Jared Colson's way better. I mean, he's, like right now, if you watched him practice, you would say he's fine. And he's confident, he's stronger, he's more skilled, he knows how we're playing. He's just not as big. Those two guys are 6'5", 220, and they're bulldogs, you know. What I'm trying to do with both Andrew and Aaron, play faster, run faster, show your speed more. You don't have to, you know, either throw a lob or shoot a layup or shoot a 5-footer. So I'm trying to create habits that they don't have right now. They want to spin back, they want to throw scoop passes and bounce through 5, you know, stuff that normal freshmen do. But I will tell you that with their size and skill set, and they, you know, right now you'll notice I'm making Andrew keep his hair longer than Aaron, so I know who's who. But when the season goes, then we'll have him so the other team doesn't know who's who. We'll have him cut it back down and no one will know. There's, you know, I told Andrew he's got to keep one line somewhere on his head that I can see that I'll know it's him and not Aaron.
So have you had the locker room leadership that you want? Does that solve your desire for sharing basketball?
My job is to teach all these kids what leadership is and what it means and how to lead. In our mind, you know, we're trying to teach servant leadership. That you got to be more about your teammates than yourself to really lead. And I'm trying to teach the whole team that, not just one guy. You want to lead, you have to serve. You're not leading to say, go get me the water. You're leading to say, does anybody need water? We are right. But it's not in their initial nature, and that's what my job is. What I'm hoping is when kids leave us, they understand and have the basics for leadership skills to take over if they had to. So right now, Willie has been hurt, practiced yesterday for the first time, hard to lead, hard to make the club in the tub. And you have Alex just started practicing with, you know, his hamstring. So he's practiced, I think yesterday was his first full practice. So those two are veterans, but I'll tell you, John and Jared are showing great leadership. I love it. Julius and Andrew and Aaron. James is not, he doesn't have that yet. But he's a great kid on the court, unselfish, you know, he's starting to talk more. But
This team has a chance to be preseason #1, and you're already one of two coaches to be 3 different schools to #1 ranking. What do you think when you hear that? What do you think of the connection, Frank, why?
Well, we've had a bunch of teams be #1, and you're right, 3 of them from different programs, and all of them were great defensive teams. I don't know exactly how many of my teams were #1 in the country. We know? 6. If you look back at those 6 teams that all were #1 in the country at some point, they were all great defensive teams. They were efficient offensively. They rebounded the ball. And obviously, you ready? They were talented. You win because you have good players. If you don't have good players, you're not winning. I don't even want to talk to you. You have good players, that's why you win. But those players got to come together, they got to share, they got to be good defensively, they got to be efficient offensively. And my best teams have been that way. We're not near that yet. But the team has a chance. What's that?
Cal, has there been a moment in practice, or maybe more than one, where you saw somebody do something and said, hey, I didn't know you could do that?
Yeah, and they're arguing the point, you know, we have the helmet award. If you get dunked on, you got to take a shot with the helmet on. And so Derek Willis dunked on both Julius and Dakari. Like both of them, we just stopped practice. Like, oh my gosh. Derek Willis is going to be a really good player. He's learning. He's creating good habits. It's, you know, this team is, you know, it's going to be a hard team to steal minutes, but I'll tell you what, he's playing as well as anybody. And the other guy is Marcus Lee, who's just so active. What he is a young Dennis Rodman. You're like, offensively, where do I put him? But then you watch defensively, he can guard every position. He rebounds like crazy. He's tipping balls in offensively. He's got a bubbliness about him. He called me before, I sent him home for the weekend, and on Sunday he texted me about noon. He said, Coach, I cannot wait to practice. How do you feel? And I mean, that's who he is, and there's no like, that's just who he is. I mean, it's, so.
Now, what have you seen from Dominique early and now he might figure into?
Dominique had his best practice yesterday. Now, you have to understand who he's going against. And the best thing that's happened for him, he's on the court with Jared Polson. So I made it so he and John Hood and Jared Polson are on the team. So he's got 2 guys leading him. And Jared has been the point guard, he's been the off guard, but when you play dribble drive, it really doesn't matter. There's 4 perimeter positions. So then I told Jared, you got to start letting him be the point. Well, he's not quite ready for that yet, but he does it some. But yesterday's practice, he made jump shots, he made runners, and you're going against 7 foot now. There's always a 7-footer on the court, and there's always another 6'10" guy out there, and the guards he's going against are 6'5". Not afraid. He physically is going to, you know, not back down. With the Wildcat code, he or Julius are 1 or 2. Every 2 weeks, as we judge it, he and Julius are 1 and 2, 2 or 1. So he does everything he's supposed to. He's a great kid.
Yeah, Cal, you earlier were talking about best teams winning it all.
Best what?
Best teams. How often, what percentage of the time would you say the best team wins the whole thing?
Well, you start knowing in the middle of January, late January, okay, we got a chance. And then you start looking at what could hold us back. In 2010, we knew it was shooting. We knew. If we had a bad shooting night, we were going to lose. You think of our team, You know, that's what worried us the most. This team, I don't know what that'll be, but by the middle of January, late January, we'll know, okay, what's the Achilles heel? How will they come at us? What will they try to do?
Coach, you were asked about the point guard position. Who is going to be the backup point guard? Will it be Polson? If not, is that still something you're still working on?
Still trying to figure out. You know, there's two parts of this. You got to keep some of these guys on the floor, and no one's going to play 40 minutes, but you need to keep guys out there 30, 32 minutes, especially early, until they get a feel for what we're doing, especially against good teams. I think what's going to happen is the way they're calling fouls, all of us coaches are going to have to adjust. You can argue the point or do what but we're going to have to adjust. And that being said, I think there's going to be enough playing time because of fouls for everybody. So if you do have a deep team, you got an advantage if they call these fouls.
I know you mentioned you haven't done much of anything defensively, but just athleticism-wise, can this be one of your better defensive teams when, you know, the potential there for that?
There's no, the reason 12 was so good is that you had Michael Kidd who could guard all 5 positions and guarded their best player. And if he had any slip-ups, you had a kid, I think his name was Anthony Davis behind there, blocking everything in sight. And then the other guys were physical enough to guard and do their thing. I don't know, you don't have an Anthony, even though we have some good shot blockers. And I don't know if we have a Michael Kidd, because Michael had the combination of toughness, mental toughness, and length, you know, to do it, and athleticism. So that ended up making that team the best defensive team in the country. So this team has a chance, but for different reasons. Your guards are bigger, your length, you know, you're big at every position.
Is there any unique challenge at all coaching the young twins? I guess get after one and the other one doesn't like that?
No, they get on each other. They are, and their personalities are really different. I mean, the more I'm around them, one, they're great kids, and everybody that's come through the building, every scout, all this, the myth about them is being blown up because they see when they're being challenged and they're being coached, they respond the right way. What they don't know how to respond to, and neither did Derrick Rose, some of my best players, they don't know how to respond when they don't make a shot or they turn it over, and that's what they're learning. Like they get upset on a missed layup, except we tip dunked it. So